Hi, this is Penny Hallgren from QuiltBlockLibrary.com, and today we're going to show you how to sew the witch block together. You can see this is a Halloween quilt and the witch is in this lower corner. I've got the pattern, and you can download your free pattern just by scrolling down to the bottom and clicking on the tab that says free patterns. So let's go over to the sewing machine and I'll show you how to get going. I like to have fun with my quilts when I pick out the fabric, especially when they're kind of goofy like a Halloween quilt. So you can see that this is going to be the witch's hair, which is kind of green, and she's going to have a green little face. We've got some stars, kind of dark blue in the background. This little square has an airplane flying through it, and this one has part of a moon, so we'll see what happens when that gets sewn together. And then the hat brim is plain black, and then the hat top is all spidery. So the first thing I'm going to do is, you can see this is kind of in 3 rows. So I'm going to sew these 3 pieces together first, and then I'm going to sew the bottom row together, and then I'll sew all 3 together. So the first thing I'm going to do is put these right sides together and sew this seam along here. The second piece that goes on is this other side, which is going to be kind of a sky piece, and the way I'm going to line this up is so that this bottom point of the hat sticks out just about 1/4 of an inch, because that's going to make this line up on the bottom when I turn it over. And then actually I'm going to sew this down so that this seam allowance lays flat, going away from the direction that I'm sewing, so it can lay flat. So I'm just going to stitch this together, and then the top row is going to be done. This is a very quick to put together block. Now we have the witch's hat done. You can see I'm going to finger press this so that the hat top seams go back underneath the sky. So that's going to allow that center triangle to lay flat and actually be kind of recessed in the sky. The next thing I'm going to do is sew this bottom row together, starting with this triangle. These line up pretty easily, so I'm just going to line them up and stitch. Now I want to take advantage of some chain stitching here, which is what I like to do so that I don't end up with a bunch of threads and wasting threads and time. So I've got these 2 side pieces together. The next one is I'm going to sew are the two, her face and her other hair piece. So I'm just going to flip that over, line them up, and stitch them. One of the things that you notice as you quilt is that whenever you lay your seam allowance behind a fabric, then it makes that fabric stand out. So now I've got to decide, when I sew these 2 pieces together, whether I want this witch's face to be up or whether I want it to be kind of laying to the back. And I think I want it to be kind of the back, so that it feels like her face is kind of hidden behind the hair. What that's going to mean is that I'm going to fold this seam allowance back the other way, even though it doesn't really want to go that way. I'm going to force it. And then I'm going to stitch this going this way and make sure that this seam allowance is sewn facing down. I've got this part sewn together, and now all I need to do is add this little sky piece. And when I do that, I just want to make sure that the hair is, the seam allowance on the hair is facing the right direction. Because this is going to, when I stitch this together, it's going to secure the seam allowances in one direction, and I want the face to be behind her hair. I've got all 3 sections sewn together individually, so now it's just time to finish up by sewing them all together. So I'm going to start with the top. I don't know why, but I always like to start with the top. Just fold this down and stitch along this raw edge. Now her hat brim is sewn on, and all I need to do is put her face on. So I'll just fold this up and stitch that on, and then this block will be finished. And there you have the little witch block. You can see the little tiny moon that comes out there, although it looks pretty funny because it looks like maybe there's something hanging from her hat, and then the little airplane, and you've got stars and cobwebs. This little witch is one of the easier quilt blocks to put together. You can get the pattern of all 12 of these blocks, including all of the instructions to put the attic windows frames around each one of the quilt blocks to turn it into this Halloween quilt, just by looking down at the patterns, and you'll see a link for the entire quilt. So thank you for joining us, and happy quilting. This is Penny Hallgren from the quiltblocklibrary.com.